So, how do you use the Randovania data visualizer? If you want to get from point A to point B in a randomizer, it can be really useful to look at the data visualizer to see if you need a certain trick level requirement that you may or may not have, or how to actually do the trick to get there, see if there's a YouTube video linked, etc., etc. So, you can access data visualizer by going to Open in the top left here. You have whichever game you prefer. I'm going to pick Metroid Prime for this case, and it will give you a new tab here that lists some stuff out for you. And the most notable thing are these nodes. These are very important. These are essentially different parts of a room, and you can also pick out the world and room here. Right now we're in an antechamber of the vanilla ice beam pickup. As you can see, there are two parts of the room that are listed as nodes, which is just the door to reflecting pool and ice beam, and getting in between them requires nothing. You just walk towards it, therefore it is trivial. But if we were to go to something like, let's say, Hall of the Elders, you can see there's many, many, many more nodes and parts of the room that we need to be wary of, as well as events, which are essentially just different things that will happen within that room. But generally, each of the connections will be linked to the room center. So this is just the very easy way to go through the room. It may not be named room center, it might be different parts of a room named differently. But room center, as you can see, connects to a lot. Each of these bolded nodes indicates that it connects to the node you're currently selecting. So if I'm in the center of Hall of the Elders, and let's say I want to activate the bomb slots in the room, I would have to fulfill these requirements. And the first one is that I would need Morph Ball bombs and Morph Ball to actually do it, uh, which is falling under all the following. So we need this, but given that it's all the following, we also need everything that falls under any of the following. So we need one of these lines here to be fulfilled. Now the first one is just having Spider Ball and after Hall of the Elders unlock doors. And this essentially means it's asking for the ghost fight to have already finished, since the ghost fight is what will lock the doors, and finishing it is what will unlock them. So that event is listed here. It says we have to fulfill that to do it. Or we can use have space jump boots and standable terrain beginner. Or we could have not space jump boots, but have scan visor and these other logic requirements. Now this will fall under a lot of different, or this sort of format will fall under a lot of different nodes. Some are much more thorough than others. For instance, if we go to Phendrana Jufs and we go to Quarantine Cave, we try to go from south, or rather room center to north quarantine tunnel. We can see there's a lot more to pick from. As you can see, we use any of the following at the top because we have a lot of different possible loadouts or inventories that can fulfill this. Now, at the bare minimum, we could have no space jump. So if we don't have space jump, we would have to do this trick here. It's called before Thardus, jump off enemies hyper mode and normal damage is greater or equal to 30. Now, once again, this is an event, Thardus, the actual fight. You need to use Thardus to do this trick, so therefore you can have fought Thardus already. And we also need normal damage greater than or equal to 30. Now, this isn't inherently linked to your energy, this is just how much damage you take, because this is also affected by your suit damage reduction, and is also affected by your damage lenience, which is a different option. You can change it to strict, lenient, or I believe it's medium, and there will be given a multiplier there. Strict is 1x. I think lenient is 1.25 or 1.5, or medium is that, and lenient would be 2 times, I believe. So you would just multiply whatever that is by this amount, and that is how much damage you should be able to take to do this trick. And that also falls under different damage categories, but they essentially mean the same thing. Normal damage is what you normally see. And we need these tricks to fulfill these. It might be easier to tell if you're trying to figure out a specific one. You can close the other ones. So if I'm looking at this now, any of the following into all of the following here. So we can just have this and fulfill it. So we first of all need this, and if we also have any of the following here, we would need either this or this to fill it along with this. And that also goes with any of these. So keep an eye out for and statements versus or statements. Sometimes it'll say or, which means you just need one of those, but and indicates that you need all of them. Pretty straightforward. Also, there will be YouTube links sometimes preceding these tricks to show you what to do. Uh, for instance, this one here, I believe there's actually one I made. Yes, where you could do a start a skip. They'll just point these out to you, and you can just take a look. They'll always be preceding the trick. Sometimes they'll have an extra comment in green text to indicate something. And yeah, that's essentially how to use it. However, there is one more thing we should cover is 2D games and how their data visualizer is a much different because it tends to be a lot more nodes, but in order to facilitate or make it easier or make it easier rather, would be to use the map here. And the map will list out every single node on the map. You can click on each of them, see what they're connecting to. As we can see, we are in the Alpha Squad nest, the iconic, and bottom here, which indicates the bottom of the room, is the primary point that connects to all these different nodes. Now, each of these alphas are an event, and basically, in order to have completed them, we need to defeat Alpha Squad. So, Alpha Squad is a different event. So, instead, we could do this, and this is just the way to get up. And fighting Alpha Squad, I believe, yes, that is something else we need to cover. So as you can see, when we go to here, it says defeat Alpha Squad. This is an event. It's similar to the before and after tricks that we saw earlier. And we can figure out these by looking at something called the resource database in the bottom left. If we go to templates right here, we can see there's a lot of different sort of requirements within requirements. So let's say we want to see if we can use power bombs. Now that seems simple, right? We would just need like morph ball and power bombs, right? Thing is that there are a lot of those requirements in the database. So to prevent redundancy, we add can it use power bombs as well as all of these instead of just writing out the basic requirements. So if we go to the drop down menu here it says we just need morph ball and power bombs. So if we see it can use power bombs in it, you know they mean morph ball and power bombs. Now this is very simple, but some of them can get a little bit more complicated. Let's see. Yeah, defeat Omega is one more. Defeat Omega will always require these sort of requirements, regardless of the fight. There may be extra ones depending on the room, and this will apply to each of them. So you can just feel free to take a look at all of them. And yeah, Alpha Squad defeated was also the one we just saw. This one's a little thick. And you can find this in of the any of the games. They will all have their own resource database. There'll also be the events here that we're referring to. These are all the events that we need to worry about. There's a lot going outside. Hold on a second. Now, some of these might be a little confusing, but if you squint at them, you can probably figure out what they're referring to. And yeah, these will also apply to Metroid Dread and Cave Story. They both use 2D maps. As you can see, Dread has similar. This is a direct rip of the map. We have these nodes. Normally it's from the start point. You can see it connects to these points, but if you're down here, you can start the total restart station. It just kind of depends. But again, different parts of the room. And Cave Story, it's again 2D map. Less nodes than normal. It's a smaller game. Still good to know. But we also have Echoes. This is not going to have a map, but it will have the same case as Prime. Once again, we have the events, we have the different parts of the room. So you just keep an eye or get familiar with what the nodes mean. You just understand connections. You can see all the connections from here. You can figure out what connects to what. If you understand the tricks and the events and the resource database, you'll be perfectly fine. And yeah, that's how to use the data visualizer in Randovania. Hopefully this helped, and I hope you have a lot more success with your randomizers. Have fun.